Welcome to the Good for America podcast. I'm your host, former Congressman Bob Good, former chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, and I'm very excited on this podcast to welcome my good friend from Arizona, the great Eli Crane, congressman for Arizona's 2nd District. He's a fellow member of the House Freedom Caucus leadership team. He's on the board, and great to have Eli Crane with us. Eli, welcome to the Good for America podcast.
Bob, it's great to see you, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, thanks for making time in your busy schedule. For those who haven't looked into or studied Congressman Crane's background, he was first elected in 2022, so he's in his 2nd term. He serves on the Homeland Security Committee and the Oversight Committee, 2 of the most important committees in the House. He is a former Navy SEAL, a combat veteran of 13 years, successful businessman. He's married to his wife, Jennifer, a good friend of my wife, Tracy's, and they have 2 beautiful daughters. And he truly fits the description of what we need in Congress as a true, courageous conservative warrior. It was a privilege to serve alongside Eli Crane for 2 years in the House in the last Congress. And Eli, again, thanks for making time. Looking back over the past 7 months, Republicans now have full control of government. In your first term, I know you were frustrated by the fact that we had the House and we obviously didn't have the White House or the Senate, so we were somewhat limited what we could do, but we also, I think you might agree, were limited by the courage and the principle and the conviction showed by the Republican leadership, and they always promised us, well, wait till we have full control of government, till we have the Senate, we have the White House, and then we'll do this or we'll do that or what have you, things will change. So I just wanted to get your sense of these first 7 months. We're now into the August recess period, and what you're happy about or proud of or feel like the highlights were of the first 7 months of full Republican control of government, and then also maybe what you're concerned about or where you think we need to do better or what maybe you're disappointed in.
Yeah, I think in this new Congress, some of the things that I'm most excited about are, quite frankly, the speed at which the administration has moved, despite Congress always lagging behind and seemingly playing not to win, but playing to lose by less. I've been pretty impressed with this administration and just how they've come in a lot more prepared than they were the first time. I think the president has done a pretty good job in surrounding himself with, not only people that have the ability to get the job done, but, people, who are loyal to him. And I think that's something he didn't have the first time. And so, the border, we all ran on it. We've all known it was a huge issue. Last Congress, when I was with you, Bob, and you were the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, we kept hearing our own leadership saying, oh, this is the hill we're going to die on. This is the hill we're going to die on. And apparently to our leadership, that meant that we'll go down to Texas and do a press conference.
Right.
For me, that means something completely different. And when I'm talking about that, I mean that, they wwere scared to death that there would be a government shutdown. Right. And I think, polling showed that, our party and our base was so frustrated by the border situation being completely wide open and being overrun, and seeing, little girls like Lake and Riley raped, seemingly a couple a week. They were like, why aren't you guys doing something about this? And as you'll remember, there was a bipartisan piece of legislation put forward that, in many of our opinion, would have codified, the border invasion, and would have been a pretty terrible piece of legislation. And for those of us that voted against it, we were told, "Oh, you guys really don't want border security at all." And what we were saying is that piece of legislation not only would have codified the invasion at our border and let in like 5,000 people a day. We didn't need a piece of legislation. We needed a strong leader who was actually committed to doing what he said, and that's, I think, what the American people saw in real time the last couple months, is that's actually the truth. And the president has moved with lightning speed to secure that border. It's never been as secure as it is now. It doesn't mean that there's not a lot of work to be done. We need a lot more. We need to hire a lot more Border Patrol agents. We need new technology down there. As technology continues to innovate and expand. One of the pieces of legislation I put forward was a counter tunnel bill The cartel's not going away. We all know that. It's way too big of money. They're just going to try and find new ways to get their product into the United States. One of the ways I think that they're going to be doing that is through tunnels. I think that they're also going to be doing it with utilizing drones. I think that they're going to, beef up their maritime operations and not go through the port of entry or in between the ports of entry, but they'll be trying to do it, in the maritime environment with small vessels and whatnot. And so, as they adapt, we're going to have to continue to adapt as well. So I think that was, one of the great things that has been done in the 119th, and the lion's share that I think is due to the president's leadership on it, but also the fact that we came together in the big beautiful bill and gave Tom Homan and Secretary Noem the resources that they needed to do those very things that I just talked about. And also, I think a lot of the tax cuts that the president, had in the big beautiful bill, I think that's going to be really good for the working class Americans. So those are two really good things I think that got done. But now many of us have been screaming for a long time that there needs to be some accountability for bureaucrats and executives within the government who have sold the American people out. And in some ways committed treason. Mm-hmm. And I think that I know we're going to probably touch on that later, but I think that if there was ever an administration that was going to finally hold people accountable for the things that they've been doing behind the scenes, I think this is the administration that will do it. So I think that there's some good things going on, but Bob, you've always been one of the biggest fiscal hawks that I've ever met, and I really respect you for that. Because of the implications of where we're headed financially as a country, and our debt and our deficits. I'm disappointed that we didn't get more done, and we haven't got more done on fiscal restraint. And what I can tell you is that earlier on in the year, when Republicans went down to Florida, they came back with a plan, Bob, and this won't surprise you at all. And I'm sure you read it in the headlines, but their plan was to cut spending by, I think it was $30 billion
right.
over 10 years, right? And so the Freedom Caucus and alongside other conservative members that aren't even members of the House Freedom Caucus, we locked arms and, we fought to get that up to $1.5 trillion.
We all remember how President Trump had largely eliminated the border invasion at the end of his first term, only to see Biden turn on the faucet immediately in his term. And I wonder what you think about the fact that you had some 20 million illegals come in under Biden, and we're on pace to deport about 500,000 this year. Do you feel like we're deporting as many as we can with the resources and the abilities that we have? And what do you know about wall construction? I'm not hearing a lot about wall construction. Wall construction is obviously not the only solution, but it is part of the solution. And it's sustainable, obviously, to have the wall completed. What do you know about wall construction right now, and what do you think about the level of deportations that are taking place?
Well, yeah, Bob, like you and like probably many of the people that will listen to this show, I wish it was moving a lot faster. I do know that not a lot of things move very fast in the federal government. I think, though, that this president has, been very strong in making sure that, and not only the president, but many in his cabinet have been very strong in making sure that, the orders are very succinct, very direct as far as what the expectations are. And so I wish it was going faster, but, we've still got to hire a lot more individuals to carry out, these operations. And I know it's gonna take time. As far as the wall goes, I know it's, I know that that's something that is on a lot of people's minds. I know the president built a lot of the wall in his first term, and I do believe that will be completed within the next couple of years. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to a guy at my church who's in steel manufacturing, and he told me after us passing the big beautiful bill that his business was actually doing really well because of the requirements, the ingredients, the materials needed to build that wall. I know his company will be one of the many companies that are participating in that, and so I know it's underway. And like I said, man, I did believe that this president would secure the border in this term, but I didn't think that they would be able to do it as quickly
Right.
as they did. And you've seen severe opposition to even the deportations that are ongoing. You've seen the rioting. You've seen the doxing of ICE agents. You've seen assaults on ICE agents, even one by a member on the Homeland Security Committee. I think her name's LaMonica McIver. And this is something that I've, repeatedly, asked Republican leadership, why is she even still on this committee after clearly on video for the entire world to see her assaulting, an ICE agent? And, it's just one of the many frustrations that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But I do believe it's going to get done. I'd like to see it go as quickly as possible, but I also know these things take time.
But as you look at September 30 deadline, you guys are back in your districts, you're on the recess. Speaker Johnson last year promised not to go on recess if we didn't pass our 12 bills. I don't know if he told you guys you wouldn't have recess this year if you didn't have the 12 bills, but having passed a CR back in March, having done reconciliation where while again, the Freedom Caucus fought to make it better, it wasn't as good as we would have liked to have been from a fiscal standpoint. And with the looming deadline, September 30, what do you see happening with the funding of the government? And I'm going to guess that some of you may have said to the president or leadership, hey, we're not going to vote for another CR. I'm guessing that maybe you got promises when you did the CR in March and when you did reconciliation on what they would do with the approps. How do you see that playing out between now and September 30? What do you see happening? What would you like to see, but what do you realistically think is going to happen?
Yeah, I would love to see us do our appropriations bills like we're required by law to do. I don't believe that's going to happen. I really don't. I remember last Congress, right after several of us, including yourself, relieved Kevin McCarthy of his duties. We were sitting there in the conference and we were trying to elect a new speaker, and I was just listening to members, getting their rage out and talk about a bunch of different issues. And I looked at Congressman Biggs, one of our friends, and I said, Andy, we're not going to save the country with the people in this room.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, that plays into this discussion as well. So I'd love to see us do the appropriations bills in a fiscally responsible way and cover down on the things that we need to cover down on. But at the end of the day, I think the wise money would be on another CR or an omnibus bill. And I mean, that's the way that Washington has functioned for a long time. And I go back to some of the comments that I made earlier about, kind of the special operation mindset and, just knowing that my focus in these upcoming spending fights is going to be like it was during the Big Beautiful Bill. Get as much as we can, do as much as we can, but know at the end of the day that I'm probably going to be pretty disappointed with the outcome.
The people of Arizona's 2nd District are better for you, Representative. The country's better for it. We need more people like you who realize who you report to, your Lord and Savior, your wife and your daughters, the people of your district, and the American people at large. So thanks for being willing to serve. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Good for America podcast. Great to have the terrific Eli Crane with us.